Explain hazard as categorized. Physical, chemical, biological, ergonomic. Physical hazards, including noise, vibration, electromagnetic radiation including visible light, ultraviolet, microwaves, ionizing radiation, X-rays, alpha, beta and gamma radiation. Thermal environment hazards, both hot and cold. Chemical hazards, which may be subdivided in a number of ways, including toxic, harmful, corrosive, irritant, carcinogenic, chip risk phrases. Acute, chronic. By target organ. Biological hazards, by way of examples you could give. Hepatitis B, AIDS, Legionellosis, leptospirosis. Genetically modified organisms. Diseases associated with the laboratory. Virus, extremely small organisms, rabies, common cold, flu, AIDS. Bacteria, single-cell organisms, Legionnaire's disease, anthrax, tuberculosis, tetanus. Other microbiological agents such as fungus conditions, bird handler's disease. Genetically modified organisms. Ergonomic hazards. Manual handling hazards. Musculoskeletal disorders. Hazards associated with display screen equipment. Define acute and chronic. An acute condition is one in which the body shows an immediate response to exposure. Full recovery from an acute condition will probably occur unless, of course, the victim dies. A chronic condition is one which develops over a long period of, probably, lower exposure. Levels. Chronic conditions may have periods in which they do not worsen, but full recovery will not occur. Describe routes of entry into the body for toxic substances. Inhalation, injection, ingestion, skin absorption. There are the airborne concentration of a substance. Weight per volume, mg/m. Ratio, parts per million. Number of fibers in a given volume of air, fibers, milliliter. What is the reasons for undertaking air monitoring? Assessing the exposure of personnel, individual and collective, to contaminants. To assess compliance with hygiene standards, that is, workplace exposure limits, WEL, or, in the case of substances without a will, to assess compliance with an internally derived standard. To check the effectiveness of the control measures such as local exhaust ventilation which were in force. Selection of appropriate respiratory protective equipment which depends on the full identification of the contaminant. Emergency or alarm monitoring in, for example, petrochemical plant, to ensure that leakages do not lead to explosive or toxic concentrations of gases. Alarm monitors may be portable and carried by the worker, or they may be in a fixed position, permanently on guard. Whether or not the site is occupied. Administrative issues through the hierarchy of control. Training workers in the correct use, including cleaning, maintenance and emergency procedures, of the equipment they encounter and use in the workplace. Training in the selection, storage, maintenance, use of any personal protective equipment that is required for the protection of the worker. Reduce the number of employees exposed to hazardous activities and their time of exposure. Ensure good housekeeping, cleaning schedules, control of eating, drinking and smoking. Control of hazardous substances throughout their life cycle, receipt, storage, use, disposal. Provision of facilities for washing, changing, storage of clothes. Record keeping. Define biological hazards. Agriculture, Food production, work associated with animals. Animal husbandry and transport, slaughterhouses. Contact with spores, mushroom growing, grain storage, etc. Veterinary work, bird handling, laboratory animals, pet shops and garden centers. Building, demolition, repair work, birds droppings etc. Healthcare workers, TB, AIDS, hepatitis. Sewerage and drainage system work. Textile work, animal hair, cotton dust etc. Routes of entry for biological agents. Ingestion, food poisoning, for example Salmonella, brucellosis. Inhalation, Legionnaire's disease and tuberculosis. Skin entry, either through a wound, e.g. tetanus, Weil's disease, or a bite by an insect. Malaria, or an animal, rabies, or via contaminated body fluids, AIDS, hepatitis B. Methods of control microbiological agents. Control of rodents and insects. Personal protective equipment, full-length boots for sewer workers, Weil's disease, RPE. For workers who are liable to be exposed to bird-carried diseases. Health surveillance to show if a worker is becoming sensitized to a particular allergen. Immediate appropriate action is then required. Good housekeeping including the collection and appropriate disposal of all contaminated clothes, animal bedding and waste, protect broken skin. Adequate ventilation. Disinfection, equipment, animal stalls. Scrupulous personal hygiene, changing clothes. Control, enclosure, ventilation, of the aerosols produced by equipment such as laboratory, centrifuges and dryers. Proper design, commissioning and maintenance of engineering controls in water cooling and ventilation systems. Distinguish briefly between acute and chronic ill health effects. Acute ill health effects arise where the quantity of a toxic or harmful substance absorbed into the body produces harmful effects very quickly, that is within seconds, minutes or hours. Chronic ill health effects arise where the harmful effects of a substance absorbed into the body take a very long time to appear, perhaps months or even years. Identify the routes of entry of chemical and biological agents into the body. Inhalation, ingestion, absorption, aspiration, injection. What are the conditions which allow the Legionella bacterium to develop? Water temperatures in the range of -°C. The presence of sediment, sludge, scale and slash or organic material in the water which act as a source of nutrients. Slime on the surface of water.
Please give comment and suggestions.
Thank you.
Subscribe our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Thank for visit our channel. See you next class.
Thank you.